Hi, I'm Emily. I'm the CEO and founder of Bluebella, and I'm delighted to be joined today in bed, no less, by the feminist and LGBT plus warrior and super talented singer-songwriter Girly. Girly is the star of the Bluebella 2023 Pride campaign, and we could not be more excited and honoured to be working with you. So welcome to In Bed with Emily. Girly, hi, and looking gorgeous in the Bluebella PJ set there with a Pride bra underneath, ready to go. So look, it's a Pride campaign. Identity has been, I think, I hear it's in your music a huge kind of recurring theme, and it's something you write about and you talk about a lot. So it'd be great to hear from you. How do you identify yourself in terms of your gender and sexuality?
Yeah, I identify as a woman. My pronouns are she, her, and sexuality is something for me that's been quite fluid for most of my life since I sort of started questioning it when I was a teenager. Nowadays, I kind of like to label it as bisexual or queer is probably actually my preferred term. I like how that word has been sort of repurposed and claimed by the LGBTQ plus community. So either one of those.
And do you feel is it, would you agree it's an important part of your music and your writing, that identity, that's something that's sort of important to you and to talk about and to connect with your fans on?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I had quite a few years where I was quite scared to be open and honest about my sexuality in my music, even though I was, a lot of my songs were about love and relationships. So I think for me now, it's just really important that I can feel free to talk about whatever I want about my life, and being queer is a big part of my life, and my relationships and heartbreaks and things like that. So I think that honesty about my sexuality has really connected with a lot of people and brought me a fan base that is largely LGBTQ plus as well. So it's definitely a big part of my music and my fan base and my shows.
Yeah, what I really love, like on your Instagram, you do these little videos of your fans after the gig, and it's really lovely. Like, people are obviously, they've had a great time and there's the music, but people are talking about, oh, Girly inspired me to come out to my family, or was my gateway to the queer community. And there's always like really profound things that must feel amazing to like see and hear that. I mean, that must feel good, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it was only something we started doing on the last tour. My photographer and videographer, Monica, was just like, "Hey, I have this idea. Like, I think we should, or I think I should go out, because every night fans were queuing up outside the venues before doors opened, to get a good spot at the front." And Monica was like, "I think I should go out and start interviewing them and just asking them to tell me about why they like your music." And then kind of became a thing where every night we'd come up with a different question to ask them. And it was so beautiful because I would then edit them afterwards, post them, and editing them, I just had such a huge smile on my face, because hearing everyone's stories and how they discovered my music and how it's like helped them through different situations, it was like such an amazing feeling.
Yeah, I think there's something really beautiful. And was it the Paris gig? You had a video, I think there was about 100, 100 of mainly women at the front, all sort of singing back to you about being in love, being gay. And it was just this really kind of powerful, there's these sort of moments, and with your community, they feel very kind of connected to you beyond that normal, oh, I like that pop, that pop star. It's got an extra quality to it.
Yeah, for sure. And I do think that comes from my songs and my lyrics being very honest about certain topics, about being queer, about mental health, about just kind of the realities of growing up and feeling lost and trying to figure everything out. And I think people hear those songs and then they connect with them on quite a deep level. So I think I'm really grateful for the fact that I have a fan base who are so engaged and so passionate.
Yeah. And tell me about, so you're very open about your story, that you started your career with a very big record label, you parted company from them, and you've, found creative freedom independently and now with an indie label. And you've talked about, I think, when you were with the big record label, that you were changing the pronouns in some of your writing to be talking about him, he, you know, in love songs. Tell me about that. Was that something you felt pressured to do, being in that space, that you were trying to fit a mold, or you were still working through, like, where you know, what was going on there?
I think, yeah, I mean, I think that stemmed from the fact that most of my team were men, and I was a very young, you know, I was a girl, I was like 18, and figuring these things out about myself. But I suppose, you know, when the team around you don't represent who you are, and you don't see yourself in anyone around you, that's really intimidating, especially, you know, when you're writing songs. You know, I was writing songs that were so personal, and then there was this fear when I'd be in the studio writing them, where I'm like, oh my god, I have to play this to a whole boardroom of like middle-aged men. What are they going to think of this? Are they going to judge me? You know, even just the feel, like, so there was this weird, you know, this kind of level of embarrassment and shame about my sexuality. And I guess in a sense, you know, and I've spoken about this a lot on stage on the last tour, that my songs were kind of outing me, like, you know, that was a way I was coming out to people, and a lot of people on my team excuse me, a lot of people on my team didn't realize that I was queer. And so, you know, once I sort of decided, I had this moment of courage where I was like, I'm just going to be myself, I'm just going to be honest in the songs. But definitely moving on from that label and joining a label that had a lot more women, a lot more LGBTQ plus people, you know, that I felt represented in my team. And that's why diversity is so important in every industry and in the music industry.
100%. I mean, I've, you know, it's a sort of a different space, but, you know, it's the same. You know, I've been raising, you know, investment to grow the business. You know, you're, you know, 95% of the investment community are sort of middle-aged white men, right? And you, I think as a young woman, you're sort of trained to people please, and you try and fit the mold that would get that, you know, that they're, and it's just a road to nowhere. And it's taken, you know, and so for me, it was about, how do I get female investment? How do I find, you know, women that instinctively understand what I'm doing, rather than to try and, you know, explain this and what the brand's about to people who inherently don't get it. So completely understand that. Let's talk about lingerie. So tell me about your relationship with lingerie. You know, lingerie is that kind of, you know, part of the reason I started the business. It's this really weird part of fashion, right? It should just be like any other part of fashion that expresses your style, that you enjoy, that you buy, you know, to make yourself feel happy and kind of be creatively expressing yourself. But it's got all these patriarchal layers on it, hasn't it? You know, and that's what interests me, and part of the impetus for me to start the business. So tell me about your experience with lingerie. Love it, hate it? What was your first, you know, first shopping trip to buy it? Tell me sort of how you feel about it.
Yeah, I mean, my relationship with lingerie, there's actually also been a lot of shame and embarrassment attached to it. You know, especially, I think only in the last sort of year have I become more comfortable with the idea of it. But it is because, you know, lingerie never felt like it was for me. It always felt like it was for the male gaze. And it actually didn't even feel like it was for any of my same-sex partners. It just felt like it was for men. And it took me a long time to kind of remove, you know, that association with it. And it's also another thing where, you know, representation, if you don't see people who remind you of yourself, you know, wearing lingerie, then you're kind of like, well, it's not for me. And I very, very rarely you see LGBTQ plus people modeling lingerie and, you know, being marketed to that community. And also very rarely do you see, you know, lingerie on bodies with tattoos and body hair and dyed hair and, you know, stuff like that. So I think for me, I just kind of always felt like, oh, it's not for me. But also there was this shame attached to it, because it was like, oh, but it's going to make me sexy, and being sexy, it feels objectifying, because it's always been this thing where it's always for men to look at me and gawk over me and stuff. And so, you know, I only sort of started really feeling like, no, this is for me. it doesn't even have to be for a partner. Like, it's just for me to feel good in myself. And also, yeah, like it's a fashion choice. It's like, what colors do I like? What shapes do I like? You know, what fits my body, what feels good. And so, yeah, I definitely really enjoy lingerie now so much more than I used to. It used to feel like this kind of like taboo, like, you know,
Yeah, I
thing.
think so many women feel like that, because I think that's what we've bombarded, that, you know, this idea that, oh, it's either really sort of functional, smooth lines under clothes, or here's your sexy stuff, which is to dress up in for someone else, and that's for them to enjoy. And then the next step to that is, oh, the thing you wear closest to your body is for someone else. Okay, then what who's your body for? And then that's the really disturbing message to young women, you know, in my opinion. So I think, yeah, I think so many, you know, that's what we're trying to redefine. It's like the bra is like it's like a t-shirt, right? It's a layering piece, it's a styling piece, it's something you know, you might want to show someone, that's fine, and you feel great in, but it's a fashion item. It's not this, you know, it shouldn't have all these weird sort of patriarchal layers. I mean, I noticed in your sort of outerwear styling as well, you like to style underwear inspired pieces as well, and you like sheers, and you like all that kind of layering look, which obviously looks amazing. But I'm also wondering, is there more to it than that? You know, I know in Not That Girl you speak about, you know, which is a song about you being catcalled.
Mm-hmm.
To me, is like a real feminist anthem. Like, the message I got from that song was like, oh, you know, F you, I'm not going to engage in or be part of your interpretation of what I'm wearing or anything to do with it, you know, this, you know, and it's got that real kind of strength. So I kind of wondered, with your kind of underwear outerwear styling, is it, as well as looking amazing, is it also a little bit political? Is it, you know, a conscious thing?
Yeah, definitely, because I think it's yeah, I think it's political. I think it's a statement. I think it's, in a way, it's sort of to shock, but also question, why are we shocked? You know, and I think that goes, you know, there's so many layers to that. It goes very, very deep, you know, in the sense of, oh, why is wearing a bikini completely acceptable on the beach, but then wearing lingerie or like wearing less clothes like a on the street or in a normal setting is like too much, and, you know, prude, and not prude, like crude. And also this, like, the idea of, you know, with Instagram censoring the nipple, like,
Yeah, don't get me
nipples
started on that.
nipples, yeah, of course, like only nipples that are on breasts, but not nipples on flat chests. And it's like
Yeah,
the same thing. And also, why is that sexualized? Like, it can be in a sexual setting, but it's also used to feed babies and just is there. And, you know, it's like just a part of the body like any other. So I think, you know, me choosing to sort of wear outerwear, and actually, you know, also my involvement in this campaign, you know, I'd never done a lingerie shoot before, and I think going into it, I felt like this is so empowering. And also I feel like, you know, so I feel like I might, and I hope not, because I feel like my fans and the people who follow me online are all about like empowerment and expressing yourself. But, you know, I might get some people who are like, this is really inappropriate. You know, why are you taking all your clothes off and blah. And I think that's even more why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to say, like, it's just clothing and it's just my body, and I can do whatever I want with it. And it's not shocking, it's not inappropriate, it's not crude, it's just me doing what I want with my body and, you know, enjoying it. And you know, yeah, like you said, lingerie, it's just clothes.
well, that's it. And how did you feel on the shoot? Because, you know, it's amazing you have that outlook. I think it's also really important, but it's still nerve-wracking, right, to do a lingerie shoot. You know, we worked with Self-Esteem for Valentine's, and she talked very openly about, you know, it was a personal journey for her. It was important to her, she wanted to do it, but it was also kind of a personal journey. She sort of suffered with various kind of, you know, body image issues for years. I know you've talked about that as well, you know, dysmorphia, there's a song about it, but you know, you've suffered with body dysmorphia and also eating disorder when you were younger. So how did you feel? Were you kind of, you know, are you at a place in your life now where you were like, yeah, you know, or did you find it challenging? You know, how was it for you? And I hope we supported you on the day and you felt comfortable. We obviously always make sure. But
Yeah,
yeah, how did you feel?
it felt really empowering. I think it felt like I was doing it for a younger version of myself as well. You know, the element of myself that has struggled a lot in the past and still struggles sometimes with body image. And you know, I think for me, with body dysmorphia, which I still struggle with a lot less than I used to, but you know, it's still kind of I think when you struggle with it, it's very difficult to completely get rid of it, and it kind of flares up at times. I think the messed up thing about that is that the way you perceive yourself is so different to how everyone else sees you. And I think, you know, I had a therapist once about who was, you know, specialized in you know, body issues, who said that actually one of the things that helps the most, which feels completely counterintuitive, is to put yourself in clothing that you might avoid because you're like, I won't look good in it, it's not for my body, la la la. And actually push yourself to kind of go out of your comfort zone and just see how you feel. And that's definitely how that shoot made me feel. I was like, I haven't done shoots like this before, and I felt so good in those, you know, those pieces, and the styling was so fun. And it was really, you know, I love, like, I'm very colorful. I love you know, big like jewelry and shoes and outfits, and like the whole outfits that was styled around like the pieces as well, and how colorful the collection was. Like, it just felt great, and I felt really hot, and I felt, yeah, just really excited. And I think the thing, you know, like I was saying before, how you don't see a lot of LGBTQ plus, you know, like lingerie collections, models and that kind of thing. And I thought, wow, you know, like hopefully this shoot, you know, someone will see it and feel represented like I wish, you know, I would have seen a few years ago, you know, when I was feeling all that shame about lingerie. And yeah, felt good.
Oh no, I think, and I'm so happy you felt that way. I mean, that's, you know, that's it, because, you know, Pride is a celebration as well, isn't it? So as well as, you know, some obviously, you know, important work still to be done, but it's also celebratory. So it's really lovely that you had that kind of that feeling on the day. So on that note, how will you be celebrating Pride Month, and what does Pride mean to you?
Pride month. So I'm playing a few shows. I'm actually playing Pride in Luxembourg Pride, which will be really fun. I'm attending Brighton Pride. I played last year. This year I'm gonna go for fun. I'll probably be doing some things around London Pride. I'm doing sort of a private show for London Pride as well, which will be really fun. And then personally, me and my girlfriend will probably, you know, go to some events around London Pride, and I think I might have a little picnic or a party or something with some of my, you know, other LGBTQ plus friends. And yeah, it's a fun time, because especially because it's June, it's summery, it's like a great time to be out and celebrating. So that's the fun side of it. I think also, obviously, it's really important to remember that Pride is still a protest. You know, there's still, it's something that's easy to forget, especially, you know, for me, like I am so lucky that I actually I've surrounded myself with a team and with friendships and with people who are so accepting of me that I don't experience homophobia on like a daily basis. But online, I still receive a lot of you know, hateful comments, and then, you know, some of the time, like in public and stuff, I experience it sometimes. But in general, I am very privileged in the sense that I live in London. You know, it's a very gay friendly place, and, you know, there's a lot of safe spaces and that kind of thing. But, you know, there are a lot of places around the world where being gay is punishable by imprisonment, death. You know, I mean, there are some people really, really suffering around the world. And so I try also at Pride to kind of bring attention on my social media and stuff to petitions and fundraisers, you know, for LGBTQ plus people who aren't as fortunate as myself. And I think that's also something that I'll try focus on as well. Try kind of do some fundraising as well. So yeah.
And on that note, just to remind everyone that 10% of all profits from the Pride collection goes to support Outright International. As usual, they were our partner as well last year, and all the amazing work they do. So very much worth checking out all the amazing projects that they have going, because as you say, it's when you live in, you know, London or in your bubble, it is easy to forget, you know, what a world apart that is from many places around the world. So yeah,
Outright International are amazing. They're such a great charity.
Such a great organisation, yeah. So very lastly, what is next for Girly? What's your summer and what's next? You're touring. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, doing loads of festivals over the summer. I'm heading back out for another headline tour of the US in September, October, which is really exciting. I'm going to loads of cities I've never been before. And my EP, Why Am I Like This, is out, has just come out recently. So that's kind of out, and there's a lot of videos, and I have a vlog called I'm Obsessed With, which is kind of like a travel self-discovery vlog that goes up on my YouTube. So yeah, there's a bunch of things happen, and then as always, writing a lot of new music.
So you're a busy girly, as you'd say.
Yeah. Busy girly.
Oh, well, listen, thank you so much for making the time for us today. It's been great to chat, and we've absolutely loved having you as the face of our Pride campaign, Girly. So best of luck in life and love and everything you do next.